There we go. All right, hey guys, welcome in. It is November 17th, Friday afternoon once again. We have been through StarCraft 2, we have been through League of Legends, we've been through Dota 2, we have been through CSGO, we've been through Vainglory, but we left the final and most important game for last in our rotation. It is going to be StarCraft Remastered. I'm Cheesehead Logic, and obviously, welcome to the quad. If you guys are tuning in, you most likely know what's happening here. Today, we have a really awesome and fun edition with the SCR side of things. I got three awesome guests. To my right, over there, we have, if you ever played StarCraft 2, there was that, part in the campaign where the prophecy was, the creator will come back, but they're not sure if they're going to create or if they're going to destroy. And so we have Mona Zhang, aka one of the founders of the CSL, aka Hazily Nutter. Are you here to create or destroy?
I am here to do both. You must destroy worlds to create new ones. Exactly. We have to destroy Brevoort to remake Remastered.
I was trying to be really nice and saying sweet, calling Mona really sweet, but after those comments, I'm not 100% sure.
I don't care again.
if we gotta end up destroying. All right, down below me, one half of the World Tag Team title Base Trade TV team, we have Zombie Grub. One of the busiest probably casters in the past month for StarCraft 2 side of things, right? You've been
I'm no longer really 50 or half of Base Trade TV. I don't know if you saw the blog that I made, but that is where most people know me from. That's true. But I've been doing WCS gigs lately and working on my own stream and stuff. So which includes StarCraft Remastered.
How's BlizzCon? Like you were very nonchalant about it. You're yeah, we just just did a WCS gig. It wasn't BlizzCon or anything.
Yeah. Like a ton of people would ask me what I felt about it, or was I excited? Was I nervous? And I only got a bit of butterflies once, and it wasn't even because I was gonna go up on stage or anything like that. It was just there is an argument about food, the day, Friday.
Did this have to do with Wax Angel? Does this have to do with Wax Angel?
No. He actually didn't hang out with us at all. They had a really weird setup, but but anyways, it was just they didn't have breakfast. There's we thought they were supposed to, and people were getting a little testy without breakfast, and I was just oh, I could feel it in the air, guys. This isn't good mojo.
Catering, one of the biggest fights in all of esports, live events.
Yeah.
See, that's what people don't know. If they're not behind the scenes, they're not aware of how important things like that, catering can make or break an event. Behind the scenes, people.
Yeah, it was actually really good catering, just to be clear. It was just that one little miscommunication that led into of course, people being, oh, we didn't have breakfast, so I feel a little weird. And then I don't know, as soon as I got up on that stage though, I know StarCraft, so it's oddly easy to go up and talk about it.
Got into the mode, right? Got into your mode, into the group. Thought you were gonna say I got butterflies when I met Tasteless. I was yeah, I felt the same way too.
Well, I met Tasteless last year. Actually, he's super awesome. I was already good friends with him by then.
Him and Dan are some of probably the nicest people that I've ever met in the scene. Some of the coolest guys, on and off camera by far. All right, now down to my diagonal bottom right over there. You guys might have heard of this land called Los Angeles. It's really just mucky. There's a lot of traffic, but if you go south a few hours, there's this wonderful land called San Diego, and there's a wonderful land called San Diego that it's a bit of a hit. I don't know if it's a secret of California, but it's definitely one of the better places. That if LA is not your thing and you can afford it, obviously San Diego is the place to consider. But down on my bottom right is actually one of our current players from StarCraft Remastered, Sosin. How are you doing, buddy? AKA Kwang, right?
Good, I'm good.
Would you like to be called Kwang? Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I'll go with Kwang.
How are things for you? Obviously going right now, sophomore year, like you mentioned. How's the studies? Obviously focusing really hard, right? Nod your head.
Right. Right. The school's going on, so it's pretty hard to practice both the StarCraft Remastered and then also study my midterms. So it's pretty intense, but yeah, it's going fine.
Well, the good thing is you guys are pretty much on the tail end of the fall half, so at least now you'll have a little bit of break room. You're not doubling, and you're not doing StarCraft 2, are you? You're just doing the.
No, I'm only doing pure StarCraft Remastered.
A purist, I love it.
Yeah, never tried StarCraft 2.
Never have tried StarCraft 2.
Never tried StarCraft.
Just wait until you got to try it once. Just try the control groups. That's awesome. Like, it'll blow your mind. It'll blow your mind completely. Being able to grab more than 12 units at a time, it's like one of the most fantastic feelings in the world. All right, so we have a few topics that we want to cover today, and the first one's going to be a little bit more Mona-focused, as we are going to be talking about sort of the story of Brood War in the CSL. So for those that are not familiar, Brood War was the original game of the CSL. It originally was founded on that game, and rather than me tell it, we've got Mona here. You were kind of there in person. Like, feel free to elaborate and just kind of we'll sit back and enjoy it. It's story time.
Oh my God, where to begin? It was 2008. I graduated from high school. It was senior summer. So high school, senior summer, you got nothing to do. You end up staying up late watching YouTube videos of Boxer, of Flash, of like all these Brood War greats, and at the time, it was really different. Like, I kind of want to describe, like, YouTube commentaries were not a thing. Commentators were not even a thing. But there were these guys, like, on YouTube, kind of, like, going rogue and just having English commentaries of the greatest Korean Starcraft Brood War players ever. And I just fell in love with the game. And it turns out that a lot of other people fell in love with the game, too, because when I came to campus, I was like, I just want Brood War. I want Korean Brood War to be here in the United States in the same way that it is on like OSL, MSL, like these amazing leagues from the past. And so the first thing I did as a college freshman was go around on campus. I went to Princeton University. That's where it all started. Fun fact, Princeton versus Rutgers was the first football game too. So we're kind of like innovating in terms of sports and esports. But like I came onto campus asking everyone I could if they played Starcraft Brood War. And so it was,
was it odd at all? Like, no, I mean, obviously not to, not to bring gender into this specifically, but like as a freshman female coming into Princeton, like running around asking if people played Brood War, that probably wasn't like the thing that people were maybe expecting, right?
They weren't expecting it, and it was actually hard to find people who were like interested in Brood War. Everyone's played it at some point, but the people who get super into it, it's like everyone played their UMS games, everyone thinks they're the best at Starcraft Brood War. That was one of the greatest parts about it. Mm-hmm. Ladder wasn't really clear, so everyone thought they were amazing. So everyone just loved playing together, but like the really die-hard fans, we had to go looking for. And I got a lot of weird looks because I would isolate Korean guys and I'd be like, "You play StarCraft, right?" Not the best thing to do. I thought it was a good strategy. But what I ended up putting up, I wish I could show you this, but there was a poster I drew of a Zergling, and I said, "Looking for a different kind of rush. Email monaz@princeton.edu." And all of a sudden, out of the woodwork, all these Brood War fans were coming out and saying like, "Hey, I want to play." And so at first we just played together on campus, and like that was like kind of, I know this was happening elsewhere, and it's really funny because Zeris, the other founder of CSL, he was starting his own thing around the same time. It was called like UCPL. It was only for the UC schools. But here on the East Coast, we were starting to form this like Starcraft team, Princeton Starcraft team. And I thought, I really want to challenge someone. So I rang up my friend from MIT and I was like, "I know you play Starcraft, let's duel." And in 2008, I believe, or 2009, we just organized a show match. It was Princeton versus MIT. We made a music video to Linkin Park. And so it was
standard, like AMV or whatever. Yeah, just like right around that time.
Yeah. Like, have you watched the OSL MSL videos where there's always this like Green Day music and then like very emo and then like people are just very dramatic? We loved that, and so we recreated that, and it still gets retweeted today by some of the esports researchers because it's just like so interesting. I definitely recommend that you watch it. But yeah, after that, it was interesting because like things just started snowballing. We had that match. Some of the casters that I had gotten in touch with, who were the YouTube casters who like brought Korean pro gaming to the English audience on YouTube, they helped out with casting. And it was just such a tight-knit community at the time, and there were so few of us that they were like, "Yeah, let's do it." And they started announcing, "Hey, well, these Princeton kids are looking to start a whole league about this. sign up if you're interested. And we weren't expecting that much, but actually, I think 26 schools came out in that first season. I know we have like 1 billion now, and it's so amazing to see how far it's grown. But back then, it was 26.
Let's not get too ahead of ourselves in the current state of StarCraft 2 and StarCraft Remastered amount. But yeah, no, like that for that point in time, I think obviously, for game choices, that was probably quite a bit. Or maybe at least more than expected. Like, obviously, there had to be kind of like a bit of a question mark in regards to the side of collegiate for esports. Even at that point, like esports as a term wasn't like as big of a thing. So it's just like how many competitive gamers could you find that played Brood War? Sort of that. I would guess, right?
It was something like that. It was really difficult to find people in the woodwork, and it turned out that like it was easier to find other gamers. So in the beginning, it was more like Starcraft, Smash. For us, at least at Princeton, we banded together as Starcraft, Smash, and Guitar Hero, which someone was really competitive at. It was, yeah, but it was a little bit different back in the day. I go back every so often to like talk to the Princeton kids now, and esports is just so different because everyone plays a different game. The internet is actually good now, so you don't have to be on the same like router and playing on LAN. So everyone, I've been told that most people kind of like have a little bit less of a sense of community, and they play from their dorm rooms, or a lot of people play from their dorm rooms. But back in our day, you had to lug your desktop or lug your laptop, your gaming rig, to one room, and we would just play, UMS, but we would also practice for our matches on LAN.
And then from there, from 2009, there was 2 seasons technically played then, and then a 3rd season in 2010 that was played. How was the development jump from I guess season 1 and 2 over to season 3, or I guess from year 1 to year 2?
It's been so long, Daniel. A cheesehead. I don't know what to refer you to.
Whatever you want.
Cheesehead it is.
Just be like the underling, like like one of the new blood, or.
Can you remind me? It was 2 to 3. Also, Starcraft Brood War.
Yeah, 2 to 3 was Brood War. I think it was like season 1 was like 2009, like early 2009, and then like late 2009 was like the fall season or a second attempt, and then the 3rd one was in 2010 before inevitably the Destroyer came in, in 2010 to change the whole landscape.
Yeah.
As well.
So I'm super biased. I fell in love with Brood War, and I wanted to give StarCraft 2 a chance, and I think everyone at the time wanted to, and we didn't really understand what would happen. No one knew what was going to happen. But I remember talking about it with Duran Zaris at the time, and we're like, what's it going to be like? Are we going to switch to StarCraft 2? Is it going to get released mid-semester? What does that look like? But we did make the decision to switch because it seemed very clear, at least as clear as it could be in hindsight, that Blizzard was committed to this game. And so we wanted to give it a shot. And it was kind of funny, like, it was hard to let go, but we were also really excited about it. We're like, what could StarCraft 2 bring? What does MBS do? I think we discovered a lot, and Blizzard discovered a lot about what those mechanics do to the game. But it was a exciting time. Like, I remember one show match. We had it in a lecture hall. We invited Rutgers over, so it was Princeton versus Rutgers, doing StarCraft Brood War and StarCraft 2. And we literally, we did dumb things back then, but they were so much fun. Both teams had a guy named Jack Wang on the team. And so we had them play each other in StarCraft 2 because we just thought it would be funny. And one of them hadn't even touched StarCraft 2. He was like, I don't even know the hotkeys. Marine was not the same hotkey, and that lost him the game.
God, the macro mechanics, the difference.
Yeah.
And then eventually, obviously, kind of fading away from the StarCraft Remastered / Brood War side, SC2 came into the picture, and then 2011, 2012, 2013, as StarCraft 2, and then the addition of additional games. Did you feel the sense of like the CSL like changing like as a whole, like expanding from this one little niche community to this new broad thing?
It really, there were a lot of growing pains, but we also grew a lot. So I think I think
Duran had more hair. Like
he did. He's going bald. Oh my god, poor guy. So I remember when League of Legends came out, and that was so huge, and it was sweeping campuses everywhere, and like hilarious because the CSL admins could see the pulse of like where everyone's attention was, and we're like, do we play League of Legends too? But you know, we Starcraft war snobs. We're like, we tried to get into League of Legends, but it was very difficult for us too. But we tried our best. We learned the rules. But it was definitely a growing process because as you introduce every game, it's just so many different challenges, completely different community. Yeah, it was fun during those times. How is it now?
How is it now? I don't know. Like, so sometimes I don't know. I'm like, I feel like we're doing great, and then there's like some days where a team just drops out last second for a broadcast, and then I just like lose all faith in like every student. I'm just like, how dare all of you disappoint us like that? Going down to you guys, ZG and Sosin. Did you guys play Brood War when it was Brood War back in the day before the Starcraft 2 times? Obviously, Sosin, you haven't played SC2, but did you play when you were at this point? You're a baby compared to all of us. So did you play? You know, when you were a toddler, did you have like a whole like keyboard case like out in front of you, just like patting away?
Yeah, I started playing StarCraft Remastered when I was in middle school, which was about 2012, and that was when the official like Star League ended, like the TV Star League.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, like I started Brood War, and then it was the time where people started to play League of Legends and StarCraft 2. So it was kind of hard to find players who actually play StarCraft Remastered. So I feel a lot for her that when she went to like university and started looking for freshman students who play StarCraft Brood War. That's the same thing I did when I went to university in my freshman year. Like I would go around asking people if they play StarCraft, and if they did say they play StarCraft, it was usually StarCraft 2. So it was every time I found a student who actually played StarCraft Remastered, it was like a sense of achievement where I could actually play with him and make friendship.
ZG?
I didn't play Brood War. I played StarCraft on the N64, which was not Brood War.
OG.
Yeah. So that was my first introduction to StarCraft, vanilla, I suppose. And then I'm pretty sure I got Brood War around like 2007 or something like that. I downloaded again because I got really into Warcraft 3. Actually, that was like my Blizzard game of my young childhood, teenage, adult years, whatever you want to call it. But so because I knew Warcraft, I tried out StarCraft again, having played it on N64. But there's a huge gap between me playing the campaign of Brood War in like 2007 and me picking up StarCraft 2 in 2010. Mm-hmm. So.
We lost those. Oh god, I was about to say no, not the cameras.
He gone.
Not the cameras. We almost lost you. I almost had a panic attack. So obviously, times for for all three of you, since you originally played Brood War, have you guys all had a chance to work with? This is more like to Mona. Have you had a chance to work with SC Remastered at all? Like play it a bit, get it? Have you touched it much at all?
It's so interesting because back in the day when I played Brood War, it was like all or nothing. It's like you get really, really competitive. So I knew that if I touched Remastered again, it would kind of be a commitment. But I started to have nightmares about StarCraft Brood War. And I'm not even kidding. I'd be like microing probes and like there would be Zerglings in my base and nothing I did would make them stack. And I was like, why does Brood War work this way? What's going on? I've lost control of my hands. That happened twice. 2 separate nightmares of StarCraft. And I was like, this is a sign. My subconscious is saying, Mona, you got to go play some Remastered. You have to return to your roots. And so I did. I made an impromptu event out of it. I streamed for the first time in like years, like 4 or 5 years. And all I did was play my current boyfriend, who I actually met. He was on the StarCraft team with me, the StarCraft Brood War team. We happened to be on the same 2v2 team, but we were playing 1v1s and crushed him every time. But
gotta note that, you know.
But yeah. So it was really fun to get my hands wet again. I do think I hear a little bit of feedback. I don't know if, yeah.
Just like the tiny, don't even worry about it. Just like the tiniest bit. So, For you guys, like obviously, is SU Remastered in terms of touch feel a little bit better than say playing in the clunkier older days? Obviously, as well. I mean, when we're talking about it, we're talking about also computer improvements, UI improvements, rig improvements, monitor improvements. Because when I think of Brood War, I think of like the old like monitors that are just like a cube and like 60 pounds. I'm thinking about like hard drives and just like computers that are like ready to burn out, like fans that are like making plane-esque noises, like trying to start up. So now does it feel like a little bit better playing like SCR? Obviously, it might not have the same impact or the same community that it used to, but in terms of play, feel, skill, all that stuff, is it a little bit of a better experience? You know what you want to say for Brood War players?
Like I thought it would be better, in the sense that, like after the window updates and all like the graphic updates, but because StarCraft was such an old game, I think there was a lot of problems with like the screen visuals. Like the screens cut off, so you had to like manually change the screens every time you turned on StarCraft. And like at the very first time Remastered came out, there were a lot of like bugs, so I didn't think it was like the greatest updates, which kind of deterred my gaming skills, I would say.
So I have to like heavily disagree with anyone that says that StarCraft Remastered didn't like heavily improve like StarCraft Brood War. Like I to explain, I suppose. Like I understand the frustrations of the lag and the drops and the whole like argument over like is it should be allowed and stuff like that. But I guess to make it clear, I played Brood War from 2012 to 2017, right? Like I did play the Brood War, and you had to download so many things to even understand how to start playing Brood War, much less actually understand how to play the fucking game. Like it was extreme. And then if you had to open your ports, which I could never do, you had to download something else to help you open your ports. Like that was such a hurdle to anyone who wanted to get into Brood War or who wanted to get back into Brood War, because there was all these updates. Did they actually play with IC Cup? Did they play with Fish? Like, what's the bigger one right now? Do they have to understand Korean to play on Fish? Otherwise, they get booted every game. Like, there's so many things that just being able to load a game, regardless of the I don't want to say lag, because the lag actually was a pretty big deal, to be honest. But regardless of like the dimensions or the rehockeying, like it's so much better. If any, like it really is a sign of like a real elitist who's like StarCraft Remastered ruined things.
See, that's actually the great. You pointed out a great example, because it made me think back to like what were the complicated things of getting like trajectory. Is like when I think of like StarCraft 2, I was just like I thought it was really complicated to make like another account on a different region, like getting like a Korean account back in like 2010, 11. But then like you mentioned, right around 2013, I tried to get like Brood War set up. Like, dude, boom, just like I was gone. Like I lost interest like in the whole process of like trying to get the game up. And then I was just, once I got it up, I'm like, oh my god, this is so clunky. Like what? Like after StarCraft 2, I'm like, how's this? Like people played this game? Like God, Flash, like Flash, you are amazing. Like if you made this happen.
I really loved some parts about Brood War. Like I love the new BattleNet. But back in the day, you can make any name you wanted. And I feel like that's like not like people troll too. So my name is HazelNut. My handle is HazelNut. I've been on BattleNet Brood War style with a bunch of HazelNuts in the same room because you can use different characters. It was just like a grand old time back in the day. But I will say, coming back from like Brood War to Remastered was kind of weird because all of a sudden you can scroll and like it's been so long I don't remember how to play. But I'm like, wait, which resolution is it? Like, and I actually like I depend on that to place my forge, to place my like fast expand. And that information can go really, like, it can go really awry if you zoom outward in.
What was older? Obviously, it was like the 4x3, right? Right? It was like the 60, technically 1600 by 1900 or whatever. But it was like boop boop boop, and a lot of people still do prefer it. Actually, I mean, it's obviously not ideal for broadcasting because because of StarCraft 2 and general esports wants the 1920 by 1080, but Brood War actually looks and feels, I want to say, better at 1600 by 900, right?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know.
I mean, I don't have a strong preference on that one. I actually, so when it was first released, I really thought that seeing more of your base would be so much better. You could literally see more, like if a zealot was attacking you instantly or something like that. But you could also, with production, be able to tackle more buildings in one screen.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was such an inherent advantage that I could never see the pro gamers sticking to 4x3. But exactly what Mona was talking about is a big reason why they do. Their building placement is down to such like a perfect art that they don't want to like have to learn to like to scroll a little bit so that their command center is the center of the screen, for instance. It's like really small but really important stuff. But I don't really know if like anyone looks any better. I think remastered visuals sometimes even look a little stupid. Like Archon having feet now is just stupid and weird.
The zergling pose.
The zergling, like the glove hands.
Those things are
like,
hilarious. Yeah.
Some things were better when you couldn't quite decipher what they were.
I still laugh at that. I remember it was like during like the kickoff stream for like SCR, like the first time they noticed like the zergling legs, they zoomed down.
Yeah.
If you just like poke at the pylon, just like, I got you.
That was super good.
Well, I mean, in general, I want to say that Brood War definitely, I feel like, laid a great foundation for some of the hardcore competitive gamers. It's honestly, I want to say, a bit not surprising just because of only the game availability at that point in time, but like now, if you told somebody found your league or your organization off of Brood War, and they'd be like, what? We got League of Legends, we got Dota 2. Like, why would to like come back to that? That's actually like pretty incredible to think that that's where it's like originally started and it had that much success. Mona, just to finish off on kind of the storyline of the CSL, are there any like fun matches, any like really fun memories that you kind of like take away? And just a couple of them. Doesn't even have to be.
So many. I don't know. She said. There was a fun moment where there were a lot of upsets back in the day, and that was the really cool part about Starcraft Reward. Like, you could have a like nobody defeating Noonie, Liquid Noonie, who is a pro gamer, and it was like the best underdog story ever. I'm biased. Princeton versus Duke. We had a guy who was pretty good, and he was like C plus, I want to say, but like on IC Cup. But he had like 80 APM. He was just like really smart with all his decisions. And he played Noonie. And he just prepared and he predicted the build exactly that he would do. And that was something you could do back in the day. For Brood War, you just prepare, you practice, you do all your mind games. Everyone was stalking each other on Battle.net. Like, everyone would be looking at replays and looking at who you played and what races you played. It was amazing.
Weird you mentioned that. So eventually I was a player back in like 2011, 2012 and kind of on before I started doing the casting side of for CSL. And you could tell the difference in terms of preparation between the StarCraft 2 players and who the former Brood War players were, because the former Brood War players were vicious. Like, they would Battle.net stalk the shit out of you, your streams, like anything that you would do that would publicly show anything of your gameplay record. Guys like Kawhi Rice, like if you remember him, like all of Team Light, like those guys would be just like hounding people like on Battle.net and prepping and stealing replays and accounts and smurfs. And it was just like in depth. Like, to me, like prep was the thing where I'm just like, yeah, I'll play some ladder games, and they're just like, no, like, to actually prep, like, you need to, like, study your opponent even, like, further and, like, actually see what he's doing. Like, as much as you could do what you want, you need to know. But yeah, go ahead, keep going.
No, there was so much inception, you're right. So, like, I remember, like, Kawhi Rice, I feel like it was University of Washington that did this, but they knew that they were being watched, so they began to play differently on a certain accounts. And so there was definitely mind game level things going on. And also, I guess one of my favorite moments is one of our first regional lands, which was hosted at Princeton University. And how many schools came? A lot of schools came, and we were all in this multi-purpose room where we took up all 3 rooms, and the power went out, and all sorts of things happened. But it was really cool because at the end of it, a guy came up to me, and he was like, "Hey, Hazley Nut, I remember you from 2008. Like, Cholera, which is one of the YouTube casters, was talking about how you wanted to start this league. And I thought you were full of shit. And now it's 2012, and look where it is." And I'm like, hey, thanks. And then now look where it is. So it's really cool to see how far we've come.
That's a great way to introduce yourself to somebody. Go up to them and tell them they thought you were full of shit. Like you're like, okay, it's great. Nice to meet you too. Thank you. Appreciate the feedback. But obviously, since then, the CSL has come a very, I want to say, long way, and now has expanded and branched out into all sorts of different games. A lot of teams now. Technically, like the reach now, to you might be wild, but like technically we have like reach to like 900 campuses like across North America. Now it's that's like going from like 24, 26, like. That number has substantially expanded, so kind of crazy to think about. Now we do have currently Brood War with the return of Starcraft Remastered. We have added Brood War, aka Remastered, back into the fold of things this year, which have opened up opportunities for players like Sosin to play this year in the CSL. The season has been, I want to say, interesting. Obviously, skill ranges vary, but we have 4 groups of about 5 to 6 players per group that have played each week. So I'm just going to start with you. What has it been like so far? Like the play, the communication, the competitive side. Obviously, when I look at the results, there's been a lot of 2-0s too as well. So it's like a lot of results are kind of like up and down when we've been looking.
Yeah, I think the skill sets like people have in the groups, it varies a lot because some people are just starting and have started a few months ago. Like I think usually the players who participate in the CSL are very hardcore players, so some are really good, and so I think the level difference is really high, and I think that may apply to other groups as well.
Definitely. Well, I mean, like even like looking at your group, like Alexi and Brian are obviously pretty good players. Like both of them, even as we saw, I think yesterday, ZG, you guys casted that one with those 2 players, and so you could see that like clearly a couple of the players really know what they're doing, have practiced really well, and when they execute, they just begin kind of snowballing and dominating. But then we have seen the other side where you look and you're just like, kind of looks like they're maybe figuring out like what they're trying to do right now, and just like like building placements like wrong, like it's just getting stuck in ramps, like you're just like it's a little rough. But I mean, how have I guess for you the first like 5 weeks of play been, Sosin?
So like at first I thought the level would not be that high because people are college students, but they are pretty good, and other than that, I think generally the people who are playing are like pretty good. So I think the quality should be pretty high for every match and every group stage.
In terms of your own performance, do you see yourself like being capable of improving for the spring half now that you know kind of what the competition looks like? Are you able to I guess split enough time for practice, play? But obviously, because you're one of the UC schools, as soon as it comes midterm time, you guys like disappear off the map, and so for like 2 weeks, we can't reach California schools because they're just like, we got midterms, we don't care about anything else, so we're just like, all right, hands off, I guess.
Yeah, it's true. Like I had my midterm yesterday as well, and so it's really hard for UC school students to participate. But I think if you have like the general skills, it's not about like really how much you practice, but it's like the decisions you make and what kind of build orders you prepare, and like really knowing what the player style of others. So because I played all 4 players, I kind of know what their play styles is now, so I could prepare in much less time.
So ZG, what have you been seeing? If you can encompass a thought of what you've seen so far.
So it's a little bit odd, I guess. So first of all, I'm glad to hear that, because when it was versus Switchblade, I think I just looked up the VOD. I wondered if you did know him, because like I think like this just makes perfect sense that you're this guy. Because when I cast the game, I was like, I wonder if Sosin knows him. Like, why else would he just like DT rush and assume that he's gonna win? But it's weird, because otherwise I would say I don't see that level of thought process. Like when you get into Brood War, you kind of like you stick to like one build and you hope to kind of like improve with it. So when I saw you actually try like different builds, I was like, oh man, this guy's actually like pretty good. So then on top of that, like a couple days ago, I saw that you were the only one to take a map off of I can't remember his name right now, but he ended up topping the group almost. Yeah, he did, I think. And that made a lot of sense, basically. But for me, TLDR, I think like you and this other guy really stand out to me. Like you do different builds. You actually like know some of the Sim City rules, which is like there's so many marks to like an okay Brood War player, a good Brood War player, an excellent. Like it's so visibly apparent if you know the game or not. And when you see some of the guys that just don't, like you really tell they don't, right? Like their builds don't make any sense. Their Sim City is just like counterproductive, and like that's the first thing you got to learn. So it's weird that I guess like I didn't realize you'd say that everyone seems to be like pretty good, but I also didn't unfortunately get to cast as many people as I would have liked, being away for like 3 of these weeks. So maybe I just coincidentally got like
you just
you know,
had
the
this
worst
like
players
you just
and
had
the
this
best
WCS
players.
gig, you know, just
Yeah, no big deal.
no big deal.
But it's nice to hear that you say that like everyone's pretty good though. Like I'm really hoping that there's some really excellent matches.
Definitely, I think there are going to be a lot of like matches because like I think the group stage was more of like knowing what the playstyle of others is, and I think people are like generally know what the others are going to do, and therefore like make their own build and practice it more. I think the quality of like the games would definitely better, as you said.
Well, looking at it, we have, in regards to school representation, obviously, what the interesting with StarCraft Remastered is, it's the only game in our lineup that's not, even Smash, you have to play teams. Remastered is the only game that is actually 1v1 right now in the lineup where you are your own representative for the school, compared to like StarCraft 2 League where everybody is in some way, shape, or form part of a team format. So the regional spread is actually pretty good, even though we do have your UCSD, we have your UCLA, UC Berkeley, Cal Poly Pomona, but we also have, you know, going down south, we have Houston, Georgia State, we go east, Princeton. Hey, do you know Jakitu? Do you know Jakitu?
I don't. I have to learn who this person is.
You don't know who this Princeton person is. I'm ashamed. All right. We have Delaware, Rutgers, Cal State Fullerton, UC. You guys have a lot of UCSD players. Do you know that? Did you know that?
I actually didn't know those players at all before I like met them in tournaments. So
That's kind of wild. You guys have like three,
Yeah.
I think 3 players at least represented. You have UT Arlington, UMass, Rutgers, A&M, Texas, that is, and North Carolina. And so there's a lot of teams, or I guess a lot of representatives, kind of regionally. Unfortunately, obviously the numbers aren't like as enormous as they were back in the day, but really cool to see like the representation being kind of so wide, and as well as seeing some former StarCraft 2 players, guys like Hawk, who goes to Arlington, University of Texas. He was a StarCraft 2 guy, a really quality GM player back in the day, and switched over to Brood War. So interesting to see that kind of dynamic happen as well. But looking at it in the standings, we have Alexi and Brian and Sosin are top 3 in Group A, followed by Switchblade and Zuzu. Hawk, Jizu, Loser, TT Mingyu, Chu, and King Gudetama in Group B. Group C, Ninja, the Black Halo, Harem, Master, Jakitu, Turd Blossom, that's a great name, by the way. Turd Blossom, D-Pain in Group C, and then Group D, Park, Sejun, Zlura, Oceano, Xion, and Duo Fist in that order as well. And so, obviously, there are a couple matches here and there that are still yet to be played. One as well, obviously, we're going to be seeing in a couple weeks. TT Mingyu versus Hawk, so hopefully that comes through after Thanksgiving. In general thoughts, like, how is Brood War as a game right now, and kind of has Remastered helped the scene at least kind of stabilize with the updated look, feel, and support? I know for some people, obviously the purists and elitists, they like the old school feel and the old school like torturous process of everything, but and you know, as soon as they heard Blizzard is like re-supporting the game, they're just like, shit, Blizzard's supporting us. Obviously there's the other side that was like, oh, awesome, Blizzard is supporting us, and you know, obviously with the new UI and everything, like do you think like this is going to be a nice game? While it won't probably have the opportunity to exponentially increase over the years or grow as a game, it will at least be a game that if you want to play or the community wants to continue, they can kind of go at it with a more modern feel, look, and without kind of the pain in the butt process.
I think Blizzard has officially stated that StarCraft Remastered numbers have actually increased since its release, so that's a pretty good sign. It's been a couple months. So as far as like actually continuing to grow, it seems to be. Like people are realizing that it's not that difficult to at least start up anymore, like actually boot it up and are actually trying it. But can't say much more to like the growing community because it's I almost wonder too if StarCraft 2 free to play has kind of interrupted what could have been StarCraft Remastered's increasing community. Because now the people who are like, oh, Brood War are now like, oh, back to StarCraft 2 because it's like a new patch. And I don't know. It's hard to like get people ingrained into one game, really. Like StarCraft people, like we might not believe that, I suppose. Like we have our game and we like playing it. But casual gamers obviously just kind of go to whatever sounds the coolest, right?
Who are these casual gamers that you speak of? I mean, with those statements, you're out here making friends, so I'm gonna let you make some.
Oh man, you know, I will speak as an alum. I'm like 5 years out, but a lot of the people I met through CSL, like all those StarCraft teams, I used to be like the person to talk to all the coordinators, so I met a lot of the diehard StarCraft Root War fans from like University of Texas, University of Washington, like all over the place. They're all into it. Everyone is talking about Remastered. We are like old fogies, but we are all talking about Remastered, and I hope it goes the way of Smash. I really do. And it might. It's a really beautiful
prize
game.
pools that don't exceed 50,000.
No, that's not that. Like a huge documentary, a stirring documentary, and yeah.
I mean, at this, well, how do I phrase this properly? Everybody, I feel like, respects the hell out of the game, but people don't actually understand the game until they have an opportunity to try it and play it. And now that it's a lot more accessible in a modern kind of UI state, they could actually try it out and see that, yes, they cannot be Flash, regardless of how many years they could put in. So even like, again, for me, the whole thing is like right now, even though it's all accessible for me as I want, and I can play and practice it as much as I want, I don't think I'd have the mindset, the wisdom, like from some of the top end players that have played Brood War for already over a decade, and just to watch them is just fascinating. It's like if we imported gladiators like back into modern day society, like that's what Brood War is. It's like we imported like Brood War players into modern society, and it's just like, this is ancient, but this is really awesome. Like give them a sword, give them like give them a fisher's net, just like let them battle it out. So it's like really incredible to watch every time you get an opportunity to, especially now. I think over in Korea they're a little bit more supportive now, like with the ASL and kind of these little weekly brood. There's like some weekly Brood War League stuff like that going on. So really cool to see that happen. Looking sort of towards the future though, in the spring. So since you're here, how most likely, if I would assume, the groups are going to be shuffled a little bit, so you're not going to be any more bottled up in a West Coast California-esque group. You might be facing some of the East Coasters. Have you had any like practice? Have you played against any of these guys that are across the nation?
I actually played a lot of games with Park Sejun in Group G. I think he participated in Test Plus Star League, and I played him a lot of times. So that's the only player I know, but I know he's really good, and yeah, that's the guy whom I've played.
Do you have confidence to face the East Coasters? Do you think they're elite Brood War players, or do you think the West is where it's at?
I think the West is more intense, according to what Park Sejun said. He said it was kind of more easier in the sense when he played against me and the other players. He said the level was kind of lower, but I still think it might be kind of tough.
East Coast Brood War, Mona Zhang. What do you reply to that? Can you is the I just love the like the West versus East like border war that goes on in esports, especially in Brood War. Like
I know. So I come from the East, so I'm supposed to be for the East, but I will say that I think the West had a little bit of an advantage just on average. But the East Coast did have some really star players, notably like Nooney was from Duke, and then who was it? Master Asia. There were some like A, B+ players around like Brood War days. And I have to give it to you, Sosin. I have to give it to the West Coast.
So it's interesting because like the dynamic in like StarCraft 2 is about the same. I want to say like you have about the same quality now in the West and the East Coast side that you could split it kind of like down the center almost for the most part. Even though the East Coast is doing some shady shit right now, like Suppy coming back as a grad student somehow to Temple. There's some like Kevin Durant shady shit going on that Allen allowed, and I looked at that. I was just kind of like, all right, well, I guess we'll allow it. So Temple this year coming back with a whole revitalized squad over there. Do you see yourself, just because you might be facing some of the East, do you see yourself at least Sosin kind of improving? Obviously, because the issue here is we haven't seen enough of the games from all the players, so it's kind of hard to, I want to say, expect or anticipate their personal performances. It's not like StarCraft 2 where we've had years of kind of seeing the teams and the combinations and the year after year of players. This is kind of a revitalized new year. But do you see yourself like over winter break and stuff like that, practicing a bit more, getting ready, trying to improve results, getting ready for playoffs and stuff like that?
Yeah, sure. I think this is the fun part of like the CSL. It's been like recent, and there hasn't been like a lot of data of other players, so it's all we don't know each other. So I think that's the fun part. We have to practice more to stabilize ourselves, because yeah, we don't know who these people are, or we haven't seen them on Twitch. So yeah, definitely.
Gotcha. Well, obviously, for those that don't know, if StarCraft Remastered is too hard of a game for you, there is this new free-to-play game, this new game called Starcraft 2, if you've ever heard of it. It is available for those that want a little bit of a easier, watered-down, but in its own way complex version of StarCraft. Trying to be fair on both sides to not make too many enemies in that regards. But overall, I mean, do you like where StarCraft Remastered, aka Brood War, is right now? Just in general, like, is it fine as a game that's been as old as it is for what it's doing? Feel free.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, sure. I mean that's the only game I played, so I don't really know how I should like say what other games look like, but the time and money Blizzard has put to like make these updates is definitely, I think StarCraft Remastered is in a good position as of now.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Any other thoughts?
StarCraft is amazing. It's my like original and one true love, and StarCraft Brood War and Remastered. And I think it's saying something when like you even have like people from DeepMind making AI for StarCraft Brood War. Yeah, I'm excited about that.
Have you been enjoying it kind of ZG in between bouncing between SC2 and a bit of a SCR? Like, has it been a fun balance and kind of interesting to watch and learn like the mechanics and stuff like that as well between both games?
Well, yeah, absolutely. StarCraft, I think, StarCraft Brood War is in a lot of ways more. It's an easier way to communicate how beautiful the game is. I don't know. It's like the most PC way I think I could put it. Because everyone always asks me, like, what is the better game? Since I do both. And there's no answer. I do more StarCraft 2, so I like StarCraft 2 more. But when I get to cast Brood War and talk about Brood War and learn about Brood War, there's so much history. And then in the actual game itself, there's so many things to learn. Some people see that as an obstacle. I see it as just like a beautiful thing. Like learning how to micro a Marine correctly is actually like the most difficult thing in the world compared to StarCraft 2. But I think it's awesome that you have to learn that. And Brood War is just a super awesome game. Like, I don't know if I can convince anyone, but I'm glad that people are trying it out again.
Good promotion. Solid. It is a hard game. It is a hard game. If you're looking for something very casual, this might not be your cup of tea unless you want to play like campaign, and even then it will demand a little bit out of you as well. So, one question I had that I almost forgot about is the game in terms of gameplay fine? It doesn't need any patching. It doesn't need any tweaks. Keep the units and everything as is, or should they just keep going through potentially maybe map additions as sort of kind of been the balanced patch way of Brood War over the past kind of decade in a sense? So is it something that, is there any tweaks to the game that they should touch, or is it good as is for now?
I think it's good as is. I think 20 years basically with no patches. They had like one patch, but it wasn't anything significant. Is a pretty good sign. Like, don't touch the game, touch the map. It's a little funny though, because technically in some people's eyes they've already changed the game with the dimensions of the screen and the ability to rebind hotkeys. But that's the extent of it. Then I think that's fine. Like, don't touch it otherwise.
Look, I don't know how everybody played Brood War when like half the hotkeys of like units were like on the other side of the keyboard. That would probably like drive me up the wall, because as soon as like StarCraft 2 hotkeys, like I moved everything to like my top left side of my keyboard just so I could like
God, no.
keep up with it.
I hate rebinding. I haven't even bothered rebounding Brood War yet. I'm the same standard one.
Man, that's wild. You guys are all gods and elites of the old world, I guess to say. All right. Well, we don't really have too much in particular else to add on. Obviously, any kind of final notes, final thoughts. We'll start with you, Mona. Are you ready to come back to StarCraft Remastered a little bit more after this discussion? Is the passion is the passion flowing?
Yes, I want to watch more, because apparently there are a lot of people streaming nowadays and playing competitive levels, and that's really what got me into it. So I definitely want to get more into that. As for like the game itself, it's really hard. I have to admit it's really hard, and I do go all or nothing. So I might get back into it at some point.
If we gave you a couple weeks, would you be interested in coming in for a broadcast?
Oh, like a casting?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe. I do have to announce that this is something that Alan and I, CSL admins, talked about once. Also, Tim and Duran. I'm supposed to host Hazley's Nut Cups at some point, and the prize will be a nut sack, so it'll literally be a bag of nuts. Highly inappropriate, but for gamers, great.
This is gaming. This is gaming. I think that's highly appropriate.
Highly appropriate. I'm gonna invite all the. I'm gonna force all my friends from old to play in this tournament. So it actually should be really great, because I think I knew a lot of the top players during that time. So
I just pay to watch Duran play. He talks a big game every single time. So anytime get a chance to put his money where his mouth is, I'll be glad to watch. So now obviously you're not as involved with esports and gaming to this day, because you've got actually a really interesting project going on right now. That's actually, for me, it doesn't affect me unless I like stop dieting, where it might affect me. But on your side, tell us about your project that you're doing.
I don't get the dieting reference, but
because I might grow out a little bit. I might grow out a little bit.
So this might not be relevant to some of the audience, but I'm working on this startup, and it's because I personally had a very difficult time finding bras, BRAS, that fit. And so we kind of figured it out, and we think that it's because there just aren't enough measurements. Like this is a little bit complicated, but we only use 2 measurements for a whole lot of like 3D dimensional women who will have complex bodies. And we're trying to make bras to your measurements instead of the industry size. You can see us at www.bratheory.com.
Like I said, I'm probably like an A cup, like maybe somewhere around there. So, if I ever stop dieting, it might turn into a B. We never know. So, but yeah, obviously, really cool project. Obviously, with how sweet you are and how awesome you've been over the years, developing the CSL and everything you do, we'd obviously glad to have you back at any point in time doing it in any capacity or any guest appearances, especially now that Brood War is back into the mix. You obviously have some of the most knowledge of the history of the CSL in regards to that. So, ZG, down to you. What do you got going on?
Just said like I'm no longer like full time with Base Trade TV, so I've been streaming a lot and want to attend more live events. So nothing is quite planned yet, but some things are in the works. So
what's your Twitch channel?
Twitch is Zombie Grub. My Twitter is @CG Gaming.
Damn, good stuff. Also follow, because new patch gameplay has been fun to watch. As well, shout outs to Zombie Mom. She showed up for one stream. I watched that. That was really entertaining. That was really entertaining. She was very blunt and forceful with the approach.
Next step is make your favorite Brood War, right?
Mom, like, check out the cinematic. Your mom's just like, no, I want to kill something. Like, it was just really funny. It was really funny to watch. Really entertaining. So, Sosin, what about you, man? I'm assuming you got finals coming up, and then eventually, what's winter break and everything looking like for you?
That's true. I just gotta get all that thing over. But like foremost, I just want to thank like to the people who actually make that StarCraft Remastered tournament alive, and like to you like Hazelnut who actually like bring StarCraft Remastered back. It's really fun to have all these competitive tournaments back alive in like 2017. So I really want to say thank you and just keep the good work up.
We appreciate it. We appreciate it.
Yep.
Anytime we get an option to have a passion game in our lineup that's not League of Legends, we'll definitely we'll definitely take it on for sure. So that's gonna do it for us, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Obviously, if you want to follow us on our Twitters down below, Sosin, you could just give them some love at Triton Gaming. I think that's their esports Twitter for UCSD or Triton, sorry, Triton Gaming, and so. Other than that, we are done with our game lineup through the first 6 weeks. Come next week's quad, we're going to have a little bit of a newer feel, newer topic, and newer approach. That's going to be probably a little bit more generic esports related in some of the topics, not just specific games. But if you guys missed anything, you guys can check out our YouTube at youtube.com/cstarleague. We'll upload it after we are done. And obviously wish everybody the best and thank you for coming on. Until next week, Week 7 CSL continues.